Leading off our discussion tonight is Iowa State Representative Josh Turek. He is the Democratic candidate for United States Senate in Iowa. Josh, thank you very much for joining us again tonight. And I think the audience here knows that we're not rushing around the country trying to find every obscure candidate running in Republican territory who might have a chance. So I just want to brief the audience on the latest here in the polling in Iowa, which is a return to an Iowa that I'm old enough to remember, when Democrats could be elected to the United States Senate, like Senator Tom Harkin. And there it is. There it is. The Democrat, Josh Turek, 50 to 46 among registered voters. And then when you get to the people who are really going to rush to the polls, it opens up 56 to 41. And Josh, I don't like to use polls in our coverage of campaigns and what's happening and the issues. But this is one where I think people have to see this. And no matter what the outcome is in November, as of right now tonight, something really profound politically is happening in Iowa. Is it about Donald Trump?
Well, Lawrence, thanks for having me. It's good to be back with you, my friend. Yeah, I'll tell you this. Iowans are ready for change, and everywhere that we're going all across the state, we're getting a lot of Republicans and independents that are showing up to our events that are talking about they don't recognize the state or the country that they live in. I mean, Iowa, we are uniquely struggling. We are basically dead last for every economic metric, healthcare metric. We've closed 250 more healthcare clinics than we've opened in the last 15 years, only state with a growing cancer rate. And now because of the tariffs, leading the nation in farm foreclosures, Iowans are ready for change, and the winds of change are here.
I want to show an ad for your campaign that is, as people will recognize right away, unlike any ad maybe any of us have ever seen. That's all I'm going to say about it. Let's take a look at this.
Well, Josh, tell us, how'd you win that House seat when no one said that was possible?
The blueprint is hard work, grit, and determination. I went out every single day, crawling those stairs, knocking doors, dragging my wheelchair up, having face-to-face conversations with Republicans, with independents, with Democrats. It did not matter the party. The very first thing they would say is, how in the world did you get up here? And I would say, I crawled up here. I drug my wheelchair up here. That's how important it is to have a conversation with you.
Talk about red states and red districts and red Senate seats turning blue. Look no further than Iowa.
Josh, when I first became aware of your candidacy and understood your condition, I immediately thought of President Roosevelt, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who we all now know spent his entire political career in a wheelchair. But he didn't want the public to know at the time, and it was pretty easy, relatively easy, to make that something people didn't know. He found ways of pretending to be able to stand up on his own when giving speeches. We've come an awful long way from that. And what has been throughout your career in Iowa, have people just ignored it the way it feels the appropriate way to regard it? It just doesn't seem like a real factor in dealing with you in any way, especially if you can climb up my stairs like that.
No, I don't think it is. I mean, honestly, when I would crawl the stairs, the first question they would always ask me is, how in the world did you get up here? And I would say, I crawled. That's how important your vote was to me. And in a 5-minute conversation, when people would learn about me, learn about what I'm fighting for, common sense, prairie populism, fighting for the people, not just for the billionaires and the large corporations, I would find over and over and over, a lot of Republicans would say, I'm not going to vote for every single Democrat, but I'm going to vote for you. And when earlier I heard you talking about, President Trump not being able to talk about his favorite president, I can tell you for me, one of my favorite presidents, without a doubt, is FDR. And I say that one of my political North Stars, my political philosophy, is a quote from FDR, which is, the test of our progress of a society is not whether we add more to those with abundance, but whether we have enough to those with the least.
Josh Turek, thank you very much for joining us again tonight. Please come back as the campaign progresses. Iowa is absolutely back in play, and depending on how you read that poll, you're either way ahead or just ahead. Thank you very much.
It is in play, and if people will help us, TurekForIowa.com, we can push for change here in Iowa.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.